for women. It was for women who have for so long silenced themselves in situations like this and question their better judgment. It's not a crusade against this man. However, in order for me to do the work and say that I'm part of the process of lifting the veil and allowing women to heal the wounds of the past, the present, there's a level of vulnerability and honesty that I have agreed to. Now, when you ask me on your show, you are also stepping into that frequency. So you need to come correct. You need to come respectful. Or guess what? I'm going to tell him. Now,
that's the part I wanted to get to.
I'm going to tell.
For those who do not know, and we'll play the response, good moms, bad choices.
One of our most viral clips.
We
stitched them. Used to follow. Not sure if they still do.
Who knows, man?
Sometimes I say something and people get mad.
Get us blocked. Photographers don't like me and podcasters don't like Mike. Interesting. And she went to, so the issues is she went on Joe Budden, and Joe Budden went on their podcast. It seemed like a swap.
Yeah. Well, I think that was an old pod.
So that was an old
episode. Cool. But they were on his episode
last week,
like 2 weeks ago.
On the 15th, and it's the second.
Something transpired between Joe and Erica. I believe her name was Erica.
So according to her, she was going out. She was going to they always take pictures on their balcony with their guests, and always whoever the guest is always in the middle beside Joe. Yeah. That's male or female.
Yeah.
And so she said she wasn't for sure where to stand, and she said everybody was joking, blah blah blah. And he said, "Don't mess around and get fucked."
Yeah.
And she said that threw her off, and that's kind of what it was. Now, when me and Mike first discussed this, I told Mike, in full transparency, I said, "Yo, that's fucked up," because he does say that. He said it on podcasts before.
Yeah.
He said it to female guests on the podcast before, and I want to be very clear. He has never said, "Yo, don't fuck around and get fucked." He has made the joke, "I told her such and such," or she has made the joke.
Yeah.
Which gets me to this situation before we get to the nitty-gritty of what really happened, or allegedly what their response was. So I just finished Joe Budden's podcast from Saturday, and they did not talk about it. I'm in the last 2 minutes, and they are talking about they want to, and Joe is like, "No, I'm not giving them," which we know who he's talking about, no space. And this came right after.
Yeah.
So, but they did discuss it on Patreon. But I do want to get to this part of, as men, how do men have to learn how to navigate with women and the women that you look at as homegirls.
Yeah, so...
And now this is like the unsafe space. This is the problem. And I said this on Charlotte Axel's post this week. Stop inviting everybody to the damn cookout and then getting mad when they start exposing what goes on to the cookout. Because I have homegirls who I can make sex jokes to or how they look jokes. None of them is ever going to come out and say I sexually harass them, because that's what it sounds like she's trying to get to.
Yeah. Knock on wood, because it might be a dollar amount, right? Like, and I'm not saying that she's going to sue Joe or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But and there's layers here, and I'm not gonna go into the layers, because part of it is like they think that that she's upset because they didn't promo the pod or whatever. So with that being said, in 2020s forward, I think as men, we got to understand that there's not a lot of safe spaces where you can really have locker room talk.
Facts.
Now, I think a conversation is due on whether or not that's something that's needed, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do men need a space where it's like, yo, can we just kind of just say what we want and it's free, right? Like, we have a group chat. It's about 7 people in that group chat. Mm-hmm. It flies off in there, right? If something got out from that group chat, though, we know that it's one of these 7 people, right?
Facts.
But the fabric of trust would be destroyed, right? Until we find out who it is. Mm-hmm. And then that person would get excluded, and then it'll come back together. Most of us are in different group chats like that where things are popping off.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, like, I guess my point is, outside of what Joe said, what was his mistake here? Like, what was the mistake? Was the mistake inviting on I hate calling them a sexual risque pod, but I don't listen to him as much as I used to, but that seems to be what it is.
Bro, I think his mistake was stop being friendly with all these people. They not your friends, yo.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel bad in saying that. Like, you've met my friend Tequila.
Yeah.
I make certain jokes with her that I cannot make with the mother of your child.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
My homegirl Sierra, she sent in questions. She's mad cool. Me and her have conversations that I cannot have with your sister.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different things. But sometimes you get too comfortable and you start thinking that, yo, and let's be clear, Flip, Imani, Mike don't know all these people, but I do.
I know a little bit. I'm in a Joe Budden pod group on Twitter.
And he is. That is the joke about this, because I'm not in it, but Mike is. And so you got Ice there, you got Ish. Two people who have known Joe for decades.
Yeah.
Who really, like, Ish is the light-skinned brother who, I should have called him biracial just to get clicks. But he's not biracial.
That's the one that's marrying the non-black woman, right?
Yeah. They got into it about the girl situation that blew up. And so, anyway, he gives Joe the most pushback. Ice is team, yo, when it comes to women, I am treading softly. I am not going to be misquoted for any community, right? Parks is always politically correct. You know what I'm saying? And Flip is like how he was there. He gives it up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, and Joe's not there, and Imani's there, and Imani was like, well, no, I had conversations with these ladies, and I'm gonna be clear, and they might be the man in me. I believe these dudes, and the reason why I believe these dudes, because I've been a guy who have made jokes and who it's been taken out of context, and the way they explained it makes sense. Hey, we're on the balcony. You're coming out here. You are twerking. You are being funny. You're trying to, and this is what women have to stop doing. Stop trying to be one of the guys, right? Because when you get one of the guys and at men, you got to stop being so comfortable with these ladies. Start thinking that they one of the guys. They can take the joke.
Yeah.
So when you twerking, and I look at you, I can understand why Joe's like, all right, you better stop shaking your ass. You're gonna fuck around and get fucked.
And I
can see it.
And I need more context.
I just think I painted the story.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You definitely painted the story, but that's not what she's saying, right?
Yeah, because now I got to take out the part of the plan.
She got to take out what she did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If she did that, right? And one of the things that she did say is, you know, we as men, we don't get to determine how fast or slow they process, you know, their trauma. I don't think this is trauma, but and again, I'm not speaking for her. I'm just saying, I just don't think if you're taking pictures on and no one touches you, I don't think it's traumatic or threatens your life. I don't think it's traumatic. So I think we throw that word out too much. Now, with all that being said, first point you made, I think, as men, we got to stop thinking that all women are our homegirls. Mm-hmm. And two, like, I think this goes back to the biggest part, and a lot of us make this mistake, man. You cannot shit where you eat, bro.
Facts.
Yeah, and look, I get it, right? Because you met your wife at work. Mm-hmm. I definitely, in working in the call center where that's all you do, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it's harder to do than not to do, but one thing that I am adamant on is like, once money's involved, the sex is off the table. Yeah. Like, the sex is off the table once the money is involved. And I think Joe bringing them on, I think the familiar, him being familiar with them, being on the pod prior. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much they talk. Their pod is very, very flirtatious. Is the way I would see it. So maybe not call it sexual, but it's very flirtatious. I could definitely see Joe making that mistake. But at this point, what could he say, right? Because if he doesn't believe he done anything, but he apologizes because he was like, I made you feel away, that just opens him up to even more criticism, right? Yeah. And if he actually did not do anything, and this is just being lobbed, right? Mm-hmm. It's a reach, like Carly Russell, like Break Lady, like whatever we're forgetting about right now, and it's just being lobbed, then he's actually suffering, right? He's actually the victim. Yeah. So, and,
it's just interesting, dude, because I didn't even get into the whole thing of, hey, I wanted the episode to drop on this day. It didn't. So now I'm upset. So now I share this information.
And I heard that. I'm like, it can't be that petty.
Sometimes I think, bruh, maybe, but I think when you grasping for something and you hot, Yeah. Because I was listening to the episode when Imani told Joe, yo, you know, Erica mad at you. Now, we didn't know who he was. They didn't say Erica from X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry, sis. If I got a Candace Owens interview and I got your interview, I think I know which one I'm dropping first.
Well, I gotta keep clipping the one that's hot. And as we just found out, Candace Owens is trending, right?
She is trending.
She is hot. So it kind of put that back. But to be that upset to then say, well, I feel like you said something that's completely out of the way. I mean, I think as men, like, yo, we got to stop shitting where we eat, for one.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know it's like, yo, we have to be careful with our words. How careful do you have to be? I don't know, because, I mean, you can say the sky is blue and somebody's going to be offended. You know, I'm allergic to the color blue. How dare you? So it doesn't matter, but I definitely think that outside of being ultra professional, I don't know how he avoids this. And I get being you're around somebody for a little bit and then you say, all right, we're gonna start having locker room talk.
Yeah, and well, for me, it's like this is the opportunity where you learn that hard lesson of everybody ain't my friend.
Yeah.
And I found it interesting that he said this last podcast, he's done talking to podcasters, figure this shit out on your own. Because and it made sense because me and you've been sending these. It made sense because as soon as I got done with the podcast, ironically this morning, you know, which is unusual for me, sis posted this on her story, and I'm like, oh, this is what he talking about.
Yeah.
And you know, because it is one of them things, like I've been there where you talking to a girl and you say something, and mind you, I had to learn this lesson super early because I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
And you have women that are in front of you,
vulnerable,
naked.
Yeah.
Both, right?
Yeah.
I don't get to say, yo, you got some nice areolas, yo.
Nah.
I don't get. You can't say that.
You can't say that.
I can't say, yo, your camel toe is fat. It's certain shit I just can't make jokes about, even if I'm joking.
You can't say it, you know, even as a joke because of how that might be processed later down the road.
Bro, I know a photographer right now. I have a mom who showed me, and this nigga used to come on my podcast. She showed me how he was saying sexual things to her pregnant. And she's like, yo, he's lucky I don't want to ruin him feeding his kids.
Yeah.
Because I seen the comments. They nasty.
And here's the thing, right? He's lucky now, but I mean, 10 years from now, again, right?
She could drop it whenever.
Yeah, I mean, however they want to, you know,
talk
process
crazy,
that.
Nigga.
And it's like, and that's something that I think as men, we got to understand. It's like, we don't get to dictate how they feel once it's said. And of course, there's an imbalance, right? All of us have saw the meme where it's like the young, good-looking guy with all the muscles, and then the old, fat, black guy with the gray hair. Mm-hmm. And they both say, hey, you look nice in that dress, or you know, I like that. I like the way that dress look. Mm-hmm. And they'll just like compliment, right?
Yeah.
Sexual harassment.
Predator.
So
be careful, fellas.
Be careful, man. Don't. I guess we went through all that to kind of be like, yo, man, just hey, don't poop where you eat, bro. That's
the kids found out that MTV Cribs was fake.
That was hilarious. But you know what? I'm glad it came out because that's what the internet is. Instagram is fake. Instagram.
The internet, 100% fake. Appreciate y'all tuning in. That was an older clip. That was from a year ago. I found that clip going through some of the clips today, and ironically, very prophetic in the ideal of how things happen from the past and how it'll look in the future. When we played that a year ago, we had no idea that Joe Budden was making $20+ million a year, making NBA money. We we had no clue a year ago, but we was discussing that you probably should not, I don't know, as I call it, right? Let's see, we're on TikTok, so I can't really say the word that I normally say. Bar box. Let's call it that. You can't really do bar box, anymore. And on today's pod, we actually discussed Shannon Sharpe and briefly discussed Joe Budden, not in this situation, but Joe Budden financially. So, in a year ago, it was probably pretty obvious, with Joe Budden with his Ferrari or Maybach out front, that he had a nice piece of change that was going on. And this was the discussion where one of the podcasters that had came onto his pod came on and basically said, that, hey, I felt uncomfortable with Joe. And just to tie this into the conversation we had today about Shannon Sharpe settling, don't know what he settled for. If he settled at all, pure speculation. Matter of fact, let's pull up today's pod, see what we discussed on the pod today. Welcome to everybody that's here with Late Night with Pastor Mike. I'm the co-host from Black Dads Club. It is sponsored by, do we have a sponsor for this one? Brock said we get Meta to sponsor us. Get these views up, and we might be able to get a Meta. And by the way, I bought these because everybody tells me that, every time you go out of town, you don't vlog, you don't show us anything. So I was like, all right. I'm trying to get everything together so I can vlog and do it. So I appreciate the feedback from you guys. All right, let me go to today's episode real quick. See what we got here. We open up prayers up for Malcolm Jamal Warner. Matter of fact, dad tip of the week that we did not give out on the pod. This includes myself because I am a miserable swimmer. Miserable. I can probably get myself out of a pool. I probably could not get myself out of the ocean worth a darn. Malcolm Jamal Warner, I'm assuming, was a really good swimmer because he was out there with his daughter. The beach that they were at in Costa Rica, I watched one of the news stories that actually showed signs saying, hey, this beach is notorious for riptides. Basically, it will murder you. And that's what happened to Malcolm Jamal Warner. So dad tip of the week is for all the guys like myself that are probably not strong swimmers. Let's see if we can get ourselves in some swim classes this fall and get our swim skills up. Won't save you in this scenario in a riptide if you panic. From what I've heard from riptides, can't fight it. Even if you're Michael Phelps, you got to let it take you out. It'll spit you out. Don't panic. Most of the time it spits you out a few hundred feet away from shore, and then you can swim back. Some of the scary things is we go to beaches in the South where we have these huge continental shelves. So you're able to get back, relatively safe because the water, the shelf doesn't dip off, right? Like it's not like 5,000 feet depth or 500 feet depth. A lot of times it's like 20, 30 feet depth, in the southern states. However, when you go to places like Costa Rica, Belize, a lot of these places are known for diving, and in diving, there's hundreds of feet depth. So a lot of times what happens to people that can swim it's scary. So dad tip of the week, definitely for everybody, for us that are not strong swimmers, we probably need to get into some swim lessons and, learn how to float and save other people in swimming, things of that nature. Let's see here. Baraka says, low key, my pops grew up in Jim Crow and now my son goes to swim camp. No, absolutely. My son swims like a fish in the pool. Way better than me. It's access. So a lot of us, when we was growing up, we just didn't have access to pools like Gavin did. So that might be something that we all need to, check out. Back dad tip of the week. Let's hop in there real quick. Before we go to dad tip of the week, talent acquisition tip of the week. I actually have one because this has happened twice in the last 30 days, right? So I'm heading back to school. One of the schools that I applied to, they actually have someone that gives you a call, kind of like goes through some things and then transfer you over to the school that you're going back to. So spoke to that young lady, and also because of my day job, I headhunt. So I call people that work, try to get them over to different jobs or whatever. In these two scenarios, the lady that called to basically transfer me over, her smoke alarm was chirping. All right. Of course, it's a sister, right? The guy that I was phone screening, and of course his smoke alarm is chirping, right? Of course, it's a brother. I don't know if y'all see this, but it's a pretty good running joke on Twitter about black people and smoke alarms and whether or not we can even hear the beep at all. It is a very racist joke. It is funny. Sometimes racist jokes are funny. Anytime I hear it, I make sure I always mention it to us to get a 9-volt battery. Okay? Back in the day, getting 9-volt batteries was difficult because you go to the grocery store or you go to Walmart, and sometimes you couldn't find it because, it's just back in the day. All right? With Amazon, you can get 9-volt batteries. All right? If your smoke alarm is chirping for the love of everything, before you answer a call for a job interview, a video for a phone interview, make sure you change that battery out on that smoke alarm. If you do not change the battery out, please take that call from a Starbucks. Okay? It is petty. It is small, but it is a big thing that is a very, very notorious and popular thing that people will use to judge you. Change the smoke alarm battery. When I spoke to the young lady, I told her she did great. I told her I liked everything about her call she gave to me, except for the smoke alarm that was going off every 30 seconds. I said, baby girl, for the love of God, please get that smoke alarm changed. Please order a 9-volt battery off of Amazon right now. When I spoke to the gentleman, everything went good. I actually thought he was a decent candidate. Forwarded him over to the hiring manager. I said, hey, man, before the hiring manager call you, you got to change that battery in the smoke alarm, right? Most people are not going to tell you this. They're not, right? I am one of the best at whatever I do, okay? As a recruiter, as a talent acquisition professional, as a headhunter, I am one of the best. I am one of the few people that will tell you, if I see something that will screw you up, I'm like, hey, this is going to screw you up. For the love of God, I need all my people. Change the smoke alarm batteries, okay? Cut that out. It's very, very lazy of you. All right, that is my talent acquisition tip of the night. All right, I'm not gonna get on the soapbox. Just saying, it's not volt battery. Order off of Amazon. Most of the time in your house, you can just get on a regular chair and change the smoke alarm battery. If you have to get, if you got like 30-foot ceilings and you rent, call your landlord. They'll change it for you. If you own the property, congrats to you. You have 30-foot ceilings in your house. Pay the $50 to rent a ladder from Home Depot for the day. Change smoke alarm battery. Okay. Don't apply for jobs with that battery chirping. Stop that. All right. That's my only tip of the week. And like I said, it's only because it's happened twice in the last 30 days. So evidently, it is very pervasive. Dr. Beaches. Man, your name is Dr. Beaches. I assume you are a swimmer, my man. Thank you, Miss Zuma. All right. What are we going to talk about tonight? All right. Got to go over the pod. Pod just dropped today. Today's pod was good. So a little known fact about me is that anytime we record, I actually grade the pods immediately after we record. I don't think Gavin knows that I do this, but sometimes I know we record a pod and I be like, "Yo, we nailed it. That was an A." And then sometimes we do a pod and I be like, C+ on the curve. We have not had a C+ pod in a while, by the way. We actually been hitting it pretty strong. Today's pod, I cannot give it an A. But I give today's pod like a strong B+. All right, so let's go through what we talked about today on the pod. Gav probably got his wife pregnant on vacation. That's at the 10-minute mark. We talk about the CEO of Astronomer getting caught with his wife. Excuse me. He got caught with his work wife. So we talk about work wives for about a good 10 minutes on the pod. I'm laughing because it's actually a pretty funny section. Then at the 30-minute mark, we talk about Joe Budden, how he's actually crushing it. If y'all watch the pod, y'all know that we give big ups to the Joe Budden podcast just for what it does in the Black Pod manosphere. You can hate Joe Budden. You can hate Pump It Up. That's one song I'd never have to ever hear again. But what we can't disrespect is the fact that the guy has become the podfather of the Black pod sphere. I won't even call it manosphere, Black pod sphere. Anyway, talk about that. At the 41-minute mark, I actually said Hunter Biden was actually incredibly smart and lucid for a crackhead. The incredible thing about that is I did not know that. Let me double check this. I'm almost certain Hunter Biden actually went to, let's see here, Yale Law School, which is crazy. Yeah, the dude went to Georgetown and Yale. Boy, bro, meritocracy and nepotism, no defeating that. Our parents suck. Yeah, I had no idea the guy went to Yale. Anyway, for a crackhead, when he's sober, he's got some pretty good points about the Democratic Party. And then we talked about President Obama, about speaking on boys needing more exposure to different men. other than their father. I have a problem. I look. I don't want anybody to think I hate Obama. Okay, I don't hate Obama. I don't. I like Obama. I am not a conservative. Okay, I am a moderate. I am right in the middle. If conservatives did not have so many races over there, though, I'd probably be a conservative. But it's too many races. So I'd rather hang out over here with the weird kids on the left, right? But Obama has a father wound that we don't acknowledge because we don't like prominent men in our community. And I say our community, I'm talking about black men in the black community. We don't really like prominent. We don't like strong black men. So when Obama continuously tells us that he's hurt because his dad was never around and he was raised by his mother, right? We don't recognize it, right? We see it as something that all black men need. And I have a problem with that. So we discussed that today on today's pod. John Gray telling us that his wife evidently squirts, allegedly. I don't know. Those are his words, not mine. Not exactly his words. And last part of the pod, we talk about the T app, which is the #1 app in the App Store. And I don't know if you guys know this. So there's an app where when women are unhappy with you, right, and they call you abusive, narcissistic, and whatever other term, unless you're actually abusive, by the way, that they use, that they go on and they basically tell other women to avoid you, right? Which is actually dirty macking, which is how we ended the pod today. And I'm low-key embarrassed that we did not connect the T app to dirty macking, which is what we ended with. So low-key embarrassed that we didn't do that on the pod. But we typically run it in one take. We definitely Jay-Z, whenever we get into the studio together. Gab and I actually work pretty decent magic whenever we're in the studio. So I'm surprised we did not connect that prior. And look at me not having my do not disturb on. All right. So, how y'all doing tonight? I know I just dropped a lot on everybody. I appreciate y'all tuning in and staying here. How y'all doing? How's everybody doing on a Wednesday? Last 3 weeks have actually been pretty, I won't say rough. I don't like complaining, but definitely could have been better. But we're here. So how y'all doing tonight? You know, and here's the thing. I was actually going to bring the Obama clip out. And I had the Hunter Biden clip up to. Which one do y'all want to talk about? Do y'all want to talk about Obama? Or do y'all want to talk about Hunter Biden discussing the Democratic Party tonight? And then I want to finish up with just Cam Newton going off on Ryan Clark. Talk to your fellow pastor. Hey man, these dudes they be too horny, man. They be too horny. They be too horny, man. I don't get it. I don't know why men do that in the pulpit. With just Cam Newton going off. What we got over here on YouTube? Eventually, we're gonna move all this over to YouTube. I don't see anybody on YouTube tonight, so I'm looking at your comments in. Let's see here. I'm looking at your comments over here, and I do see your TikTok comments and I do see your Instagram comments. So, yo, if you have any question, any topic, feel free to just chime in. Cause this is y'all's show. This what they say on sports radio? The show is based around our callers. It's what you guys want. All right, I have a vote for Hunter. All right, let's hop on Hunter then. Hunter Biden. Cause I do believe that the blacks, I do believe we need to do better with the DNC. We need, and when I say do better, we need to demand more. We don't have a demand of the Democratic Party, man. We don't have any demands of the Democratic Party. Like, we just exist for them. We exist for them to do whatever they want to do to us. And that's a bit masochistic, I guess. All right, let's hop on Hunter. What I got here? I got the Hunter clip right here. Let me see if I can put it in the screen for you. At some point, this is gonna be like way more professional, okay? But for right now, you got to deal with what you got, because we starting out. All right, let's get Hunter back. Where we go here?
Fuck him and everybody around him. I don't have to be fucking nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. Fucking George Clooney is not a fucking actor. He is a fucking, I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. Fuck you. What do you have to do with fucking anything? Why do I have to fucking listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his fucking life to the service of this country and decide...
Hunter gonna get me kicked off of TikTok.
Are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the fucking New York Times on me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 fucking years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama, and that was because of Barack Obama, not because of fucking David Axelrod, and David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior fucking speechwriters in, on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who've been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40-50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history, how to have a better midterm election than anybody in history, and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever won. And they're going to replace their judgment for his. Not to mention, who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper? My mom or something? I don't know. Well, I don't know. Yeah. For real though, I don't even think it's your mom anymore. No. By the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news, and beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to shit after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with. The jerk.
Okay, for one, big up to Hunter for being not a crackhead. Very, very proud of him for that as a human being. So, even though we know that drugs are not treated in the Anglo-Euro-American community the way that it is treated in the black community, this is definitely the most uncrackhead speech I've ever seen a crackhead give. So big up to Hunter for that. Also, did not know that this guy went to Georgetown and Yale and was the disappointing son. That is mind-boggling. But Hunter said some things that I really, 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 really like. I really do, right? James Carville has not won a race in 40 years. That's actually valid. David Axelrod, for all intents and purposes, is a political nobody, except for the fact he ran Barack Obama's campaign, which was won, to Hunter's point again, by Barack Obama, not David Axelrod. Pod Save American guys. Oh my gosh, he's junior speechwriters. Also did not know that. And Anita Dunn made $40-50 million off the Democratic Party. Again, insane. Now, I don't blame Hunter for taking up for his dad. That's actually admirable. That's actually what you're supposed to do as a son. Even if your father is wrong. It really is. It really is, right? You're supposed to take up for people that you got to show loyalty, right? That's what loyalty is. Loyalty isn't, you defend people that are right and virtue signal, right? Loyalty is like, I'm going to defend you when you're wrong. So I big up Hunter for being loyal to his pops. He did not say whether or not his pops just threw Kamala, whichever name she goes by, name out there to just screw over the Democratic Party. He also said that his dad won a ton of elections, which he did as a senator, but he also lost a ton of elections way prior to Barack Obama making him the vice president for the presidency. But I get it. You're only going to talk about the good stuff. And he's right. Like his dad did have like the largest midterm turnout, all of that. But what he's not being honest about is whether or not his dad was coherent or cognizant, even. But the reason why I really played this clip, what I like about this clip is, right, there is a problem in the Democratic Party, and Hunter can't speak to the real problem in the Democratic Party, which is the emasculation of the most egalitarian men in the party. And the party is being led, right? He stayed away from this. This is how I know he was sober. Because a high Hunter would have said, hey, biggest problem with the Democratic Party is that it's being led by non-heterosexual men, it's leaving out black men, and it's acquiescing to special groups, right? Non-sober Hunter would have said that. But I think this right here shows that there is a chink in the armor for the midterms. And in case anybody thinks that this is going to be a layup in 2026, I think it's not going to be a layup because the Democratic Party is fragmented. It is torn apart at the moment. So this is not going to be a layup. It's not going to be something that's easy where the DNC is just going to walk in here and say, hey, let's blame Trump for everything, and then we'll win off of everything else. Pay attention to what Hunter is saying here, because that part is the truth. Donors are part of the special groups. Donors are absolutely part of the special groups. Absolutely they are. But voters got to decide if they want to let special interest group make them sit home. Basically, voters have to decide that. Do you want to sit home because you don't support a special interest group? Because we don't know what student loans are going to look like, right? Like I logged into my Nelnet account. I see what it was, 2 months ago. I don't even know if I want to log in next month when it starts. Let's see. Let's log into Nelnet real quick, right? That's the student loan app for everybody that was smart enough to avoid student loans. And you wonder what I'm talking about. Like I don't even know what this is. Like I don't even recognize this starting page right now. Bookmark your login site today. Your servicing website have moved. There's two different websites now. What the world? Accounts beginning with the E. Accounts beginning with a JRD. Like this is insanity. One big beautiful bill act. This is what it is when you log in. Let's log in. Let's log into my student loan account. I'm not gonna tell y'all what I owe, but let me see if everything is still saved in here. And again, elections have consequences, right? Oh, let's see here. Look like it still has my save amount, and look like because of the Supreme Court case, it has been pushed back another 60 days. So, to anybody who think that election does not have consequences, right? I mean, I'm looking at it, right? And here's the thing: mine was set up because I've been paying, but for people that are trying to get back into paying it, a lot of those people have not been able to get their student loans set up on income-driven plans or set up forbearance or any things of that nature. And the downside is, like, the only way around that is to basically, go back to school, which means you got to get more student loans, or maybe you with a company that could pay and you could take, 6 hours of classes. But even that, I believe full-time classes when I went to school was 12 hours. And now I believe that full-time is 15 hours, which full-time, for a person to take 15 hours worth of classes and work 20, 25 hours a week, by your junior, senior year, it is untenable, if we're being honest. Let's see. Walker says, saw a poll that 70% of non-voters agreed with the Democrats. Yeah, that's Democrats' problems in a nutshell. That you just described a Democratic problem. Y'all don't vote. Yeah. you just described the problem in a nutshell. Democrats don't vote. Like that is the problem with Democrats. And you're heading into a community or a country where voting is not going to matter in the very, very near future. So since I talked about Hunter tonight, I'm gonna lay off Obama because I don't want anybody to think that I am a Hunter fan. I'm not a Hunter fan, and I'm not an Obama hater. It's just that Obama speaks oftentimes as a black man in a black American country, and he has a father wound. So when people hear him speak, they think he's speaking on behalf of Afro-American or black American men, and he is not. And that's what I have a problem with Obama. I don't have a problem with Obama. I have a problem with the misrepresentation, or it might be the mischaracterization of how he's viewed and seen, because that affects the way that I am viewed and seen, and that makes my life harder. It makes men like my life harder. So no problem with him as a man, no problem with him as an achiever. But when he speaks, that causes some issues. But let's hop into sports and we'll get out of here tonight. Because we keep saying that we want to have this segment on the pod where we want to discuss whether or not Cam Newton is a Hall of Famer. And I haven't really gathered all the evidence that I need to gather in order to defend him, because I actually think Cam Newton is a Hall of Famer, and I know a lot of people don't, but I think he is. I think he's the greatest dual threat quarterback in the history of the NFL, and I don't believe it's close. And I'm a 49er fan, right? So I recognize this from being someone that watched Steve Young, and I remember watching Michael Vick, who I think is one of the greatest. I think Michael Vick. I think you can make a case for Michael Vick to be a Hall of Famer just based upon the breakout of what he allowed quarterbacks to do. But Cam Newton, I think, is watching Michael Vick's breakout in action. A lot of people be like, "Oh, it's Lamar Jackson." I'm like, no, it's Cam Newton. But anyway, Cam Newton was kind of derided by Ryan Clark, and if you watch this pod enough, you know how I feel about Ryan Clark as a man. I don't think he's a terrible guy, but I definitely think he carries water from time to time. So let's play the Ryan. No, we're not gonna play the Ryan Clark clip. Let's play the Cam Newton clip. Let's let Cam get. Let's let him get it off real quick here. Let's see here.
And me. Well, can't. Oh, viral box office. Who hotter than me? Well, Cam's wrong.
Cam Newton went to 3 Pro Bowls. Jalen Hurts already been to 2. Cam Newton was an MVP and he got to the Super Bowl and he forgot to bring his cape.
Mr. Ryan Clark, you're attacking the messenger and not attacking the message. Terrell Owens, we all know that you don't have the best relationships with your quarterbacks. Me being a quarterback, I'm just going to leave it at that. Gilly, you posted me on your social story. And Peggy, I got a question to ask. Can you name me one Gilly the Kid album? Did you know his album was Philadelphia?
Damn. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback you got to go through in the NFC to win the Super Bowl.
You do not need to go through Jalen Hurts.
Who do you need to go through?
The Philadelphia Eagles. So since that we want to attack the messenger, Ryan Clark. Hey, let's pull up your stats. Second team All SEC. We cannot relate. Undrafted in 2002. We cannot relate. Won Pro Bowl in 2011. We cannot relate. People keep attacking Cam, the person, or why he didn't jump on the fumble, comparing and contrasting. So when I compare and contrast you guys' statistics and Dan Orlovsky, never mind. The message here is, Jalen Hurts, this has nothing to do with me hating Eagles fan. This has nothing to do with me being bitter. This is just my thought process in evaluating quarterbacks. Let's make people debate about sports again. There's too many homeboys in the industry. There's too many insiders that are moved by relationships. Well, you're not talking about the person. You're more or less talking about their performance. And that's what I will talk about. Did you know, Peggy, Jalen Hurts only threw for 2,900 yards in the whole season?
Yeah, 2,903 yards.
Did you know that his former teammate at Alabama, Tua Tagovailoa, threw for 36 yards less? You know, the kicker in that is?
What is it?
Tua only played in 11 games. Baker Mayfield threw for 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Justin Herbert's stats, 23 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So what are we talking about here, ladies and gentlemen? Cam hating on Jalen? No, that's not the case. He doesn't need to play elite for his team to be successful. They're not winning games solely on his performance. The elite guys is. He lacks nothing in his skilled department. But like I told him, team situation doesn't require you to showcase your individual talent. These guys that I put on the list are all valid. So stop coming for me as if I don't know this game of football. Cam Newton.
Hey, man. Cam is all over it because I went back and looked up Jalen Hurts' stats and I was just like, I think the ESPN has tainted the way that we look at players. And I understand what Cam is saying, right? He's saying, like, hey, he's not saying that Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback, right? What he's saying is that, like, hey, if you put an elite quarterback on that Philadelphia Eagle team, nobody's coming close, right? But if you put Alex Smith on that Philadelphia Eagles team, there's a decent chance they still going to win the Super Bowl, right? He's not saying that Jalen Hurts is terrible, right? Because I think Jalen Hurts is a really good quarterback. I mean, he's a second-round pick. Like, let's stop pretending that second-round picks are guys that can't play football. There's guys that can't play football, right? Look, Jalen Hurts was ran out of Alabama by the coaching staff. It wasn't because Tua was better than him, right? He was ran out by the coaching staff. And I love that he went to Oklahoma. Looked like he changed up his throwing motion, threw for a ton of yards, went to the NFL. He has a way better throwing motion than what he did when he was playing at Alabama. This is somebody that has worked on his craft, worked on himself. He's gotten a max contract out of it. Jalen Hurts is a really, really good guy, right? But what Cam is saying is he, right? Not can anybody be a quarterback to this team, right? Because I do believe that if you put, what's the guy name that plays in Tampa Bay, right? If they played at Oklahoma as well, I can't think of his name right now, right? But if you said that, let's see, a Tampa Bay quarterback, if you put Baker Mayfield on the Philadelphia Eagles, like, will we be like, yo, Philadelphia Eagles a better team, right? I don't think Cam is saying that. Right? I think Cam is saying, though, like, yo, he's not their most elite player. And I think that's fair. Now, I love the Eagles taking the Chiefs behind the woodshed and wearing them out. Do not get it twisted. I am not a Kansas City Chief fan. Right? Same way I'm not a New England Patriots fan. And I love the fact that Jalen Hurts was on that squad, right? Like if you to say, hey, would you prefer the Philadelphia Eagles to be led by Jalen Hurts or to be led by Baker Mayfield? And I'm using both of them because both of those guys played in the same system in Oklahoma, right? No, put Jalen Hurts on that squad. But I think we all would agree that Baker Mayfield isn't a top 10 quarterback. And Cam is being fair here to ask the question, is Jalen Hurts a top 10 quarterback, right? Because it goes back to Cam's question of game manager versus game changer. Because there's guys who are obviously game managers and there's guys who are obviously game changers. And I think a further question is, do game changers win Super Bowls? because Lamar Jackson has not won a Super Bowl yet. So it might be a case of what do you prefer as a general manager, right? Do you want Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, or do you want Jalen Hurts? I'm not gonna throw Pat Mahomes in that category, but do you want Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff? Right? If the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl and if the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, who do you want? Do you want Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, or do you want Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts? It's a valid question, and I wish we could speak about nuance better on the internet versus just saying, yeah, it shouldn't exist. This conversation should not exist. Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl, so obviously he's a top 5 quarterback. Cam has a very valid point here, right? He's not a top 5 quarterback. He's not. He's not. I don't care. I don't care how you slice or dice it. He's not one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. But anyway, that's pretty much all I got for tonight, man. I appreciate you guys chiming in. Sorry we didn't have any juicy red pill stuff tonight. I know I can't do that every week. Just not my cup of tea. I love women way too much. But I do appreciate y'all coming in, chiming in, hollering at your boy, hanging out. We will have an event on August 15th. Stay on the lookout for it. Hey, Coach Julius, appreciate you dropping in on us, man. Thank you very, very much. We will have an event on the 15th. That should be on Eventbrite by the end of the week. It's our 4th anniversary, so I would like to see everybody that's local to come here into that event. That is a Friday, so it'll be from 6 to 9. I'll give the location out later. But outside of that, man, I appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in tonight. Please feel free to drop comments on anything that drops. We should be having new clips from the pod that'll be popping out in the next few days. YouTube should update in the next 48 hours. Go look at last week's episode. And I appreciate y'all coming in and hanging out with your boy. And again, hey, always feel free to hit me up. Do not forget my talent acquisition tip of the week. For the love of God, change those smoke